I think I've... Oh. You're right, it is him. He's different. Let's watch and see what he does. Do you think he will recognize us? He never saw us before. He will not recognize us now. We may approach safely without detection.
The honor is mine.
There's something to tell you, something you might like to know. It is for your ears alone, not for an audience. What we have to tell you will cost 25 credits. Small sum. This better be worth it. That one, your human companion, the male one. We've seen him here before. Just checking. Who, Atton? That was the name we knew him by. That one came to the smuggler's moon years into the Jedi Civil War. Claimed he had been displaced by the war. Don't trust him. He is not a soldier. He's a killer, tried and true. I can give you nothing more than that warning. The rest is up to you. Interesting.
Something up? Alright, what did you want to know?
I met someone on Narshada who says he knows you. Literally 2 seconds ago and they're still standing behind you.
Yeah, that's a surprise. Did he say I owed him credits too?
Did he say that he's not Atton? He said Atton was the name they knew him by, right? Anything you want to tell me?
No, because you're asking about it. If I wanted to tell you anything, I would have come and told you. Anything else?
Garth or Atton, who's your pick? I will say, Atton's easier to get along with out of the gate. Video game distractions, fair enough. Garth took a lot of patience, and then I finally liked him. But there was a lot of patience first. Atton, there have been far more eye-rolling moments than there have been, oh my god, you're so annoying moments, if that makes sense. It's more like a, ugh, me. Like, his really early comment about me showing up in my underwear. I mean, yes, obviously. Perhaps pain will bring the truth out of you. Oof. Calm down, I just wanted to know. No harm meant.
Is this an interrogation? If so, you're terrible at it. Especially for an ex-Jedi. Or whatever you are. Why don't you just crawl in my head and try to dig out whatever you're looking for rather than asking about it?
Interesting. I was fully expecting there to be, I was fully expecting there to be an option that was like, I wouldn't do that. Because angelic light side or whatever. Did you finish the game? I'll ask the important question. Which soundtrack is better? Ooh. That's always a hard one for me. Because unless it's really pronounced, I tend to... So I have major auditory processing issues. Honestly, I would have subtitles on even if it weren't for the sake of the stream. And even in games where they don't speak 7 million different alien languages, obviously. But basically my brain has a really hard time filtering through sound. Like, it doesn't block out background noise like it's supposed to. But the result of that is that everything becomes background noise to an extent. So, like, when there's dialogue or something going on, I'm so focused on the dialogue that I don't even, like, notice when there's music, because it's the same thing as the footsteps, or the cat moving, or the fan of my computer, or the light buzzing, or the air conditioner going, or literally all of these things just kind of blur together. So I'm really bad at picking out soundtracks, except for when it's, like, really pronounced. Like, usually combat, where there's, like, some big epic combat music that shows up while I'm not trying to focus on processing dialogue. Those are the ones I'll notice. General soundtrack, I might have to cheat and look them up side by side. I'm not gonna lie. Right now, just off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to think of, like, a specific song from either soundtrack, but I would still say KOTOR 1 better, for the pure fact that it doesn't mute my Twitch VODs. KOTOR 2 is still great, but gets muted on the Twitch VODs regularly. We've got a problem. Let's settle it right now.
You know what? I helped you get off Peragus. If I hadn't been there, you wouldn't have even gotten off the administration level. I'm trying to help you. I don't know why I'm bothering.
Are you trying to protect me?
I don't know. I'm not sure I understand it half the time.
I want to know where you were before you arrived on Nashada.
You know what? Not once have I asked you about the Mandalorian Wars. Not once.
I heard about Duxon. Everyone has. I heard about Serico, and I sure as hell know about Malachor 5.
What makes you think you've got the right to interrogate me on anything? You've got plenty of lives to answer for. All you Jedi do.
First off, random entire Jedi Order catching a stray there. Weirdly. Second off, I never said it was an interrogation, and you said that if it was, I was bad at it. So why are you still thinking this is an interrogation? All signs point to it not being. Right? Especially since, as you unfortunately know from Kreia, although my character doesn't know that, if I wanted to actually interrogate you, presumably I could. I can't, I don't think, but the Honor and Quest soundtrack and Korriban are my favorite, so in due time. If you've got a question, then ask.
How did you even live with yourself after Malachor? Is that why you went back to the Jedi Council? Hoping they'd kill you?
I get the sense that this is one of those things that he needs to get out more than he needs to hear my response to, if that makes sense. Go on, let's hear it all.
But Jedi don't kill, do they? At least not their prisoners. Maybe you were counting on it when you went back in chains. So you got off easy. You were exiled, brushed under the cargo ramp, another dirty little Jedi secret. I'll tell you, all those Jedi at Malachor, they deserved it. Every last one of them.
If you wish to die, keep talking. The part of me that really likes that Bowdor's... I'm wishing again, for the second time in like the last 20 minutes or something, that I had Bowdor with me. Because that could be really interesting. Granted, I mean, maybe Visas just doesn't have anything to say, but it's also possible this is one of those conversations that it doesn't matter who I have with me, they wouldn't, like, insert themselves. But still, the part of me that kind of likes that Bowdor still calls me General. And the part of my character who went to Malachor because she believed it was the right thing to do, and went with a whole bunch of other Jedi who all presumably, or at least most of them, were doing so against the will of the Jedi Council because they felt it was the right thing to do. I could very easily see those memories causing an instant, like, they did not deserve it. Why the fuck would you even say that sort of thing? That is slightly tempered by my own lack of knowledge of what actually happened on Malachor 5. Like, for all I know, my character knows something that the rebellious Jedi did that was, like, horrific, that I, as the player, haven't found out about yet. To where, like, maybe if I, as a player, knew about it, my character would react differently. Unfortunately, she's kind of at the mercy of what I know. And when I know it. Or what I know and when I understand it. Sometimes I'm a little slow, as we all know. But I need to pause because I think I inhaled a piece of cat fur or something. I don't know. But then there's the part of her that is tired of war and didn't want to go back to war ever. And hid under a rock for the last 5 years? I said it was 5 years since... Or, no, 10. 10 years since the Mandalorian Wars? 5 years since the Jedi Civil War. Pretty sure I'm remembering that right. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like the part of her that's really tired of war and the part of her that is the... Yep, 10 since Mando. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. The part of her that was the exact opposite of everything that Atris wanted to paint her out to be would almost be too tired to get that heated about it, if that makes sense. At least that's my justification for not defending the people who made the same choices as she did. The real biggest reason being that I don't know all the details, and it's possible if I knew everything my character knew, that maybe I would think that they did choose their own fate or whatever. I have no idea, so... There must be some reason you believe as you do. Why?
Because Jedi lie, and they manipulate, and every act of charity or kindness they do, you can drag it out squirming into the light and see it for what it is. The galaxy doesn't need Jedi arrogance or Jedi hypocrisy anymore.
Who hurt you? I mean, obviously it was a Jedi, but why? Okay. I'm assuming and that is why the Sith were right, is the dark side option. It's very non-specific, but, you know. I'm debating between... I don't think that the Jedi as a whole are quite as he's describing. But taking only his last sentence in isolation, fair enough. Hell, he didn't even say the galaxy doesn't need Jedi anymore, just that it doesn't need their arrogance or hypocrisy anymore, which, I mean, yeah. All that other stuff about where he was basically stating without stating that they were all lies and bullshit, I don't think is entirely true. Certainly not to the extent he seems to think it is. Because he seems to think it's, like, universal. And nothing's ever universal, right? But his last point is understandable enough that I don't feel the need to get into a shouting match over what was very obviously just, like, blatant hyperbole. Even if he believes it is still hyperbole. So I'm kind of debating between just asking what he means in hopes that he'll just tell me what the fuck he's talking about here. What he's actually talking about here. Or going with, that's why I'm no longer a Jedi. Because it agrees with his last statement. It kind of leaves it open to interpretation whether it agrees with all of his statements. But I think it might throw him off of his, like, venting charge a little bit to have me just, like, yep, which is why I'm not one. Like, agree with him, you know? Really a tough one because I really want more information. And I assume the more information that I would get will come out eventually. But he's on a roll here. And I'm... Number 4 kind of sidesteps his on a rollness and sort of passively puts me on his side. It's kind of like a sidestep, like, yep, and I'm over here with you. Surprise! You didn't see that coming, did you? You know. But he's certainly not holding back. And I'm curious what else he would say when he's not holding back. Oh. It just occurred to me that, what do you mean? Could also be meant to imply, what do you mean by the Jedi are arrogant and hypocritical? Which is the exact opposite of what I want to go with. Not a, what do you mean by all these statements about them lying and stuff? Or like, where is this coming from? But like a, wait, what do you mean they're arrogant? What do you mean they're hypocritical? Which is dumb. No, that just the possibility of that is enough to make my decision for me, I think. That is why I'm no longer a Jedi.
The Jedi, the Sith, you don't get it, do you? To the galaxy, they're the same thing. Just men and women with too much power, squabbling over religion while the rest of us burn. At least the Sith are honest about what they're killing for. The Jedi are pacifists, except in times of war. They're teachers, except when it comes to telling their students the truth. And when they save you, it's only so you can suffer more.
I just realized that I've been choosing very Jedi answers here. I've been letting him get it out and wear himself out without reacting. That wasn't even intentional. Now I have to make a decision. I've heard enough is obviously the conversation ender, and I don't want to do that. My only other two options are, if you want to die, keep talking. Or flat denial. I guess I gotta go with a flat denial, because I'm not gonna threaten to kill him over what I invited him to say. That's dumb and obnoxious. You're wrong, Atton. That is not the way of the Jedi.
Whatever, just leave me alone. I don't know why I'm wasting my time with you anyway.
Pretty sure I asked that question pretty early on in this conversation. Pretty sure I was the one asking you that. You telling me you don't have an answer? The option is there. It doesn't feel like a great time to push, but also the way the dialogue has been pretty like standalone. Like I can end up in the exact same loop I just had without the person I'm talking to realizing that we literally just had this conversation. Seems like a pretty consistent dialogue thing. Where anything I choose at this point probably isn't going to take into context the conversation we just had. Which makes that purely a headcanon thing, and if it's purely a headcanon thing, then I have to keep asking because now's when the conversation's available, and I don't know if it's going to go away. I'd like to know about your past, especially if we're traveling together.
Well, don't get too attached to me. I don't like it.
He forgot he was angry at me. Hmm. Why not could be why don't you like it or why shouldn't I get attached to you? I don't think we've done one thing you have liked since we left Bragas. Could be a mild jab or a grumpy, oh my god, you're so annoying sort of thing. It's always hard to tell. I need tone indicators in these games. Normally I would be inclined to think of the third one as like teasing. But there is no obvious dark side option, and that makes me nervous that I'm misinterpreting it. Why not?
It's because I'm a deserter. It's what I do.
You served in the war?
Served in both of them. Against the Mandalorians, before and after Revan, and again, when Revan declared war on the Jedi.
First option is, but why? The second and third options are both very jumping to assumptions. I didn't know you served with the Republic is a little bit less of an assumption because he's working with me and doesn't seem to hate me, so it's kind of a reasonable assumption to jump to, I guess, if you were going to jump to one. But immediately going to, you were Sith? It's fucking crazy. Like, yeah, I don't think it's any kind of secret that he's clearly more force sensitive than the average person, but jumping straight to Sith is like, they what now? But why?
Because I followed orders. But it was more than that. You were there. You knew how easy it was to hate the Jedi who sat back in the Republic, evaluating the threat, and watched us die against the Mandalorians.
I mean, well, actually, I was about to say that kind of backs up. Like, if you were gonna jump to an assumption of which side he was on, that one kind of backs up the Republic side, because why would the Sith be mad at the Jedi higher-ups? Or the, the Jedi hiding in the Republic, whatever, if you weren't fighting for the Republic, right? But then I realized that he used the word hate, and there's a whole thing with Sith and hate. So maybe it's not quite as big of a push one way or the other as I was thinking. I still think jumping straight to you were Sith is fucking crazy at this point. Why did you desert?
Because you can't believe in the Republic anymore after the Mandalorian Wars. After Revan, nothing was the same.
Right after that final battle at Malachor, I was right there with the rest of the defectors, because it was the right thing to do.
Okay, lore check here. because I don't know how much of this is stuff I'm misremembering, because we do go an entire week between streams, and I have gotten a whole lot of pieces of Mandalorian war info from a whole bunch of different places at this point that aren't necessarily in order or even necessarily all completely true. I know that there's this whole group of Jedi led by Revan who disobeyed council orders and basically deserted, quote unquote, to go help drive back the Mandalorians. Did the same thing happen in the, like, normal Republic forces? Because the Republic was already fighting the Mandalorians, right? Like, he wouldn't have been a deserter from the Republic for standing against the Mandalorians, because that's what the Mandalorian War was, right? It was Republic versus Mandalorians. I'm trying to figure out... I feel like I'm supposed to be getting information out of this. I was right there with the rest of the defectors. But I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be getting out of it, because I'm not certain that I'm remembering all the details correctly. Or that I'm not missing something. Mandalorians were assaulting and burning... Yeah, Republic worlds. Okay. So, the use of the word deflectors... I was right there with the rest of the deflectors, just deflecting all that shit. My tongue tonight, man. So the use of the word defectors does imply something other than he was just a Republic soldier, right? Like, possibly Jedi? Like, the bottom two options here both imply that he was... That my character understands it as, yes, he was a Republic soldier. They didn't deserve your loyalty any longer. The Republic was weak, you were right to turn from them. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is... What am I supposed to know here about the Republic having defectors? Because he's making it sound like he quote-unquote defected in the same way that I did, where he didn't defect to run away from war, he defected to run to war. Did the Republic, like, surrender or something? Is that a detail I'm missing? I guess I would maybe explain the whole Republic was weak comment, but a lot of people like Sith troopers and Jedi who turned dark defected from the Republic to serve Revan. Revan had sway over Jedi and military and fought for the Republic. Okay, alright. Which is why the bottom two options don't say anything about, like, wait, were you a Jedi? Or anything like that. Like, my character's assuming that he was a Republic soldier because he was. So a lot of people defected from the Republic to serve Revan. But Revan defected from the Jedi to help save the Republic, no? Is this a timeline mismatch? Are we talking about, like, after the war was over, he defected? I'm trying to figure out the timeline, because the right thing to do is questionable if it means that he followed Revan to the dark side after the war was over. But certainly, especially from my character's point of view, if he was quote-unquote defecting to go defend Republic worlds from the Mandalorians, like against orders or something, my character would agree with that, because that's what my character did. But then if that's the case, I still feel like I'm missing something, because why would a Republic soldier have to defect in order to fight the war that the Republic is currently fighting? Revan broke away from the Jedi to fight. Then after the war was over, Revan turned. Right. I guess I'm trying to make my... Despite how my brain is clearly not functioning with words tonight very well. They're all deflectors now. Case in point. I guess what I'm asking is kind of, at what point in the timeline were Republic soldiers considered defectors? And did that happen to help protect planets from the Mandalorians somehow? Or would a Republic soldier only have been considered a defector in the events after the Mandalorian War? I'm trying to figure out what he defected from and what his quote-unquote right thing to do is implied to be, if that makes sense. Like, if he thought it was the right thing to do because Revan had gone to the dark side and was turning a bunch of people with her, and he thought it was the right thing to do to abandon the Republic because it was weak and couldn't stand against the Mandalorians on its own, that's one thing. And it's a very different thing from disobeying orders and running off to try and save people. You know? And I know it feels like I'm hyperfixated on this. But the two, what I assume are the two possibilities for what he means here, unless I'm forgetting about some other third possibility, which I might be. But between those two possibilities, they are very different courses of action, and for very different reasons. So it kind of matters. This particular instance, wrapping my head around it does actually kind of matter. So I've been assuming that famous battle at Malachor was where the Mandalorian War officially ended, right? That was where they got turned back and everything. Or just defeated into pulp. You'd be considered a defector anytime if you leave the service of the Republic. After the horrors of Malachor, a lot of the Mandalorian War veterans became disillusioned. Okay. So, just to confirm, based on what you're saying, it only makes sense for him to be talking about... Well, he says right after that final battle at Malachor. So he's saying after the final battle at Malachor, he and the rest of the defectors turned their back on the Republic because it was the quote-unquote right thing to do from his perspective, because the Republic was seen as weak, basically. And they were, disillusioned with it. He's not talking about going out to fight for a greater cause or something. He's saying the Republic didn't deserve our fighting for them anymore. And that's why it was the right thing to do. Yeah? I think part of what threw me was the "you answered war with war" thing, which I have definitely been told by at least a couple of people about what my character did. Was the Jedi's complaint that I answered war with war. Because I'm sure I have a whole rant on past stream about how, in the case of the Mandalorians, that was dumb. But, I think that threw me because I've heard it so many times that it automatically jumped me to assuming that maybe he was defecting in the same way that I quote unquote defected, you know, and then that threw off my whole like, wait, what? I think that happened at Malachor that's a bit spoilery. Okay. You saw them? Okay. Gotcha. Either way, the defectors he's talking about were defectors leaving the Republic after the final battle of the war, not in order to go help win the war. Which was the part I was getting hung up on, was that second answer. Just because it was so familiar after people keep telling me I did that. Thank you for the clarification and lore help. I needed that because... Damn, I was so confused. I think I've got it now, though. Now I have to figure out what my character would think about that. Because I assume that a group of Republic soldiers defecting right after the final battle at Malachor doesn't necessarily imply that they all went and joined Revan on the dark side, right? Like, I'm sure some of them probably did because that was kind of the whole thing about Revan, right? But it doesn't necessarily translate straight to, wait, you became a Sith? To go back to that previous answer. The only part of this portion of dialogue that still confuses me, and it's a pretty minor point, I'm probably just going to brush it off because I'm probably not going to get it. But that second answer, that was wrong. You answered war with war. Defecting doesn't imply that you're going to war. It implies generally the opposite. A whole lot of me getting very confused about timelines and loyalties and what the fuck Atton is talking about specifically with this line, and his son doing his excellent best to try and untangle my confusion without spoiling anything, which I very much appreciate. Yeah, I think the only part I'm still confused about is why one of the options would say you answered war with war, when literally in almost every usage of the word that I can think of, the term defect implies running away from war, not going to more war. Unless it's meant to be like unless it's meant to indicate that my character is assuming that because he defected from the Republic, he therefore joined Revan in the war against the Jedi. Which I don't know for sure, and I would not assume right off the bat necessarily. But that particular answer could be meant to indicate that my character is assuming that. I don't know. In my defense, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I probably should have stopped before we even entered the refugee sector, but I was having fun, and I was intrigued. Atton's probably one of the most extreme who did join. Ah, okay. technically, as far as I know, I didn't take an oath. So arguably, the first option doesn't actually make me a hypocrite. Because as far as I know, Jedi don't have to take an oath to obey the Council. They have to follow the Jedi Code, and they're expected to obey the Council. But as far as I know, I never made a solemn oath over it or anything. I can't say you were right to turn from them because I don't believe that. I'm a little torn on number 3. Did I take oaths that I could enforce? But that's it, I think. Yeah. Yeah, the code is similar to an oath, but at least based on the version of the code that I remember from KOTOR 1, because I did have to memorize it when I was going to the Jedi Academy. It didn't say anything specifically about obeying the Council. It was all about, like, emotions and peace and, you know, all that stuff. But I do agree that it's similar to an oath. Yeah, Jedi say there is no emotion. I seem to recall I had an entire rant about how that might have been well-intentioned at one point, but the way they phrased it was horrendous. Because too many people are going to take it too literally. And, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, that's kind of what I was trying to figure out, Redman. He's talking about how he was a defector and how he was at the Battle of Malachor. And then he's like, and then right after that final battle, I was right there with the rest of the defectors because it was the right thing to do. And that threw me off because one of the answers was, you answered war with war, which is what everybody keeps telling me I did when I disobeyed the Jedi Council to go fight the Mandalorians, right? So that answer had me thinking, wait, if he's a Republic soldier, how did he defect from the Republic to fight the people that the Republic was literally already at war with? That makes no sense. So then someone was clarifying that post-war, a lot of Republic soldiers and stuff defected to follow Revan, which makes more sense. Still doesn't explain answer number 2, because unless it was already assumed that Revan was... Unless everybody who defected to follow Revan knew that Revan was planning to go straight to waging war on the Jedi Council, which they might have. That might be just a piece of lore nuance that I'm missing. But even then, that wouldn't be answering war with war, because the Jedi Council wasn't declaring war on Revan, right? It's more like just going from one war to another. So that was kind of where I was getting tangled up. Now what I'm trying to figure out is what my answer to that would be. Because I don't especially like any of them. Number 2 still makes no sense to me. I'm not going to pick it if it doesn't make any sense to me. Because then it could be saying something I very much don't mean. And I just wouldn't know it. Number 4 is a very obvious dark side option. Number 3 could go either way. Number 3 could be a dark side option. Just flat out sincere agreement. Or it could be followed by an implicit but. As in, I agree. The Republic didn't deserve your loyalty. Not any longer. Not after all that. But you took an oath. You know? I think part of the reason I'm hesitating on number 1, though, is just because I only have a vague idea of what his statement of because it was the right thing to do actually means. Like, from what Sun was saying, it sounds like because it was the right thing to do just meant because the Republic didn't deserve to have me fighting for them anymore. And therefore it was right to abandon them. But that doesn't make a lot of sense in my head, even from, like, his perspective. I guess it could be right there following Revan with the rest of the defectors to war against the Jedi because it was right to go to war against the Jedi. In which case I wouldn't mind so much contradicting and pointing out that it was a betrayal. A lot of ambiguity in Revan's fall after the Mandalorian War. The Republic reveals some, but right now it's meant to be mysterious. Okay. Imagine Revan tried to do a coup against the Republic. It's well known and secret among people. War with war seems like Mando's created war and Revan answered with war. Well, it really doesn't make sense because in Atton's case, we're talking about after. Like, he's talking about right. He literally says right after the final battle at Malachor. I was right there with the rest of the defectors because it was the right thing to do. I was defecting because it was the right thing to do right after the final battle at Malachor. Which is after Revan disobeyed the Jedi Order and went to war against the Mandalorians, right? It's, in fact, right after the Mandalorians were defeated, unless I'm very much mistaken. Which is why the war against war thing confused me, but... Is the book canon? You know, the Revan book links to all these games. Ask him because the book somewhat hints on Revan post-Malachor before he goes back to the Republic. Need to reread it. I read it once years ago. Actually, that reminds me. Hang on. Is that the book you and Mitchell were talking about? The Darth Bane trilogy? I took a note. I haven't read it yet. I haven't found the audiobook yet. Keep forgetting to get around to it. But it's there and it's literally on my desktop. Oh, literally called Revan. Got it. My understanding is that after the battle at Malachor, my character disappeared under a rock. For like 5 years. Darth Bane trilogy is very good and links to KOTOR, the KOTORs in more subtle ways. 3,000 years later. Gotcha. I have to make a book. Make a book of that one too. Make a note of that one too. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So from my understanding, right after the final battle of Malachor, my character my character went back to the Jedi Council, got exiled, and disappeared under a rock for 5 years. Atton, it sounds like, defected to follow Revan into the Jedi Civil War. He did say he was in both wars. I don't know. There was a really weirdly presumptuous dialogue option earlier that was like, "You were Sith," that honestly seemed to come out of nowhere because I swear there was no conversational basis to jump to that assumption, at least not yet. But it would be kind of funny if it was like, I want to say premonition, and that's not a word. Preluding? No. Foreshadowing. What would eventually make sense, I guess. He hasn't gotten into much detail yet, I don't think. Unless I've forgotten it because I've been sitting here trying to wrap my brain around this one thing for so long now. He's mostly been ranting and raving about how the Jedi are all, like, secretly evil and, like, secretly want to save you just to see you suffer more and all this stuff without really giving any specifics as to why he thinks that. This, because it was the right thing to do, seems like he's hinting at maybe he's about to tell me. I just need to pick something at this point. You took an oath. What you did was a betrayal.
No, it wasn't. We needed the Jedi during the Mandalorian Wars, more than anything. The Mandalorians were slaughtering us by the millions. The millions. You were at Serico, when they turned the Starib cities into glass craters. At Duro, when Basilisk war droids rained like meteors onto the orbiting cities. And when the Mandalorians set fire to the Zoxan plains on Ares III, the fires that still burn. Without the Jedi who turned on the Council, without you, the Republic would have lost the war, and we would all be Mandalorian slaves or corpses.
So then why are you yelling at me about how all Jedi are evil? And seeming to imply that, therefore, you don't know why you're even here with me. Like, you just admitted that I was, like, one of the good ones, so to speak. Instead, you all became Sith. Oh my god. I don't think that... I feel like that one's a little hyperbolic. Because I can't be the only one who didn't go Sith, right? Maybe a lot of them did. But I can't be literally the only one who didn't. Now the war comment makes more sense. This war comment. The other one still doesn't make sense because it would be more like following war with war rather than answering it. Answer implies that there was a statement to begin with. And I don't think the Republic was declaring war on anybody at that point, honestly. If I had to guess. That is no reason to start another war against the Republic and end more lives. I actually like that one.
We were loyal to Revan. That was enough. She saved us.
So you followed Revan, like I had.
After Malachor, after the Mandalorian Wars, that's when the Sith teachings started spreading through the ranks.
We knew where our loyalties lay. To the Jedi who came to help us. Not the ones who sat back on Dantooine and Coruscant, watching us die.
So when those same Jedi who watched us die decided to start fighting us during the Jedi Civil War, we fought back. I fought back.
Wait. When the other side of the Jedi decided to start fighting us during the Jedi Civil War, there wouldn't be a Jedi Civil War if they weren't fighting you. What, you mean when they decided to not just let you kill them? Maybe. I mean, given the reputation the Jedi had kind of built for themselves with their humming and hawing at that point, it almost wouldn't surprise me if there were people, at least among the ranks, who honestly thought that they would just sit there and let themselves be slaughtered. The idea of you fighting a Jedi is ridiculous. To tell someone under propaganda, yeah. Not even realizing it doesn't make sense. Because them deciding to start fighting you would have been like the start of the Civil War. Not during an ongoing war, because ongoing war implies that there are two sides. If they weren't fighting you yet, then it wasn't a war, it was just you killing them. I guess they finally decided to do something about it. I mean, you know, that part's on them, but certainly doesn't make it the offense of they started fighting us, so we fought back. Like, there wouldn't have been a during the war if you weren't already fighting, because there wouldn't have been an ongoing war. How?
I started killing Jedi. A lot of them. People say killing Jedi is hard. It's not. You just have to be smart about it. No blasters, no getting close to them, no attacking them directly when you can gun down their allies instead. There's ways of gassing them, drugging them, making them lose control, torturing them. I was really good at it.
What's worse is that killing them wasn't the best thing. Making them fall. Making them see our side of it. That was the best.
Despite the way he said that. Because the tone of voice did kind of sound like he was implying that he relished killing them, but making them fall was better. The words themselves are kind of interesting, because it implies that he preferred not to kill them. And anybody who has a strong belief and doesn't want to have to kill people is going to want to, like, convince them of that strong belief, right? Whether it's right or wrong. So, managing to... If deep down you don't really want to be killing people, then I could definitely see managing to convince them of what you so firmly believe, and therefore not having to kill them, would feel better, right? I mean... Despite the way he said it, the actual wording kind of gives me a little bit of hope for his character, if not his intelligence. Or at least his critical thinking skills. Like, clearly he was very thoroughly propagandized and fully bought it hook, line, and sinker. But if you keeping that in mind, that would imply that he's not a monster who is just relishing killing people. At least not as much as he would, as he enjoyed not having to kill them, I guess. Translation tells me he's not a total psychopath. Make it sound easy.
I taught myself techniques. It's hard for Jedi to sense what you're really thinking if you throw up walls of strong emotions and feelings. Lust, impatience, cowardice. Most Jedi awareness doesn't cruise beyond the surface feelings to see what's deeper. And I was good at that, throwing up walls. And my superiors knew it. Sometimes the Jedi on our side wouldn't even realize I was there.
Is that why you act the way you do?
Part of it. Maybe it was always me. It's hard to tell sometimes. I haven't known who I am for years. I wasn't the only one. I know you left at the Mandalorian Wars, so you don't know much about what went on behind the scenes in the Jedi Civil War. But Revan understood one thing. The real battle was going to be fought between the Jedi on both sides. That was the only battle that mattered.
Finally, an area where my character knows probably actually less than I do about the Jedi Civil War. And the only part I'm a little unclear about, my character probably wouldn't know either, which is at what point in the Jedi Civil War that Revan started, did Revan get, like, taken down and mind wiped and recreated as a random Republic scout? And, like, where was that in the timeline of, like, start to finish of the Jedi Civil War? But I don't think that really matters for this part. What do you mean?
Whoever had the most, the strongest Jedi were going to win the Civil War. If Revan couldn't convert Jedi, Revan would kill them. So Revan trained elite Sith units into assassination squads, whose duty was to go out and capture enemy Jedi. I was in one of the special units trained to do this.
Capture Jedi, not kill them.
Yeah, Revan had plans for all Jedi. I think it was important that the Jedi see her side of things, the Sith teachings. Revan wanted to break them, and then have them join her.
Which is also interesting when you consider that Revan and Malak were, at least from how I understood the KOTOR 1 ending lore, they might have had tendencies for the dark side to begin with, but it sounded like it was the power of the Starforge that really pushed them over the edge. Which makes it interesting to me that Revan was specifically focusing on capturing Jedi, kind of like what I was saying with Atton before, where it almost sounds like, even if she wouldn't have admitted it, some part of her didn't really want to have to kill them. And propagandizing them gave her a quote-unquote excuse, I guess, not to have to, under the, like, ways of the propaganda she was, like, drenched in, basically. All the NPCs cheering in the background. Yeah, I know, it's so random and, like, out of context. They're just like, yeah, you keep talking. No. But you're here now. Why?
One day, I decided not to do it anymore, so I left. Ended up on Nar Shaddaa, became someone else.
You took a risk thinking I would care that you killed Jedi. I don't. I think that's too... That might be something my character would say out of bluster and bravado. To prove she's not a Jedi or whatever, but more toward the beginning of the game. Now I feel like she's kind of like, okay, yeah, well, obviously some part of me's still a Jedi. I guess I can't deny that, you know. Of course, coming back does some things to some folks, I guess. Why are you telling me this? You're telling a Jedi you killed Jedi.
Because you've killed Jedi too. Different circumstances, but you have a bigger body count than I ever did.
Oh,
and I've been with you only a short time. Enough to know that as soon as someone signs on with you, they haven't got long to live. You got history, and anyone who travels with you doesn't. And maybe I want somebody to know who I was in case a story needs to be set straight. Maybe you understand.
Maybe I do. But why did you leave the Sith?
I think there's been enough lies and truth for today. Let's just leave it for now.
You're admitting you lied to me? I need some time to think about this.
Take your time. I have.
Interesting. Ooh, look at me. Oh, light-sided. Everyone's getting up there too, though. Visa shot up there. Actually, really fast. Apparently, she's unexpectedly easy to influence. Given that she's arguably literally still a Sith. It's kind of funny.